What's up everybody, John here with Motivation Theory Running, and today we're going to be talking about the Hoka Speedgoat 4 and its ability to wick water and kind of deal with getting a completely submerged wet foot during an ultra. I understand that this is not the Gore-Tex version. The Gore-Tex version I think is probably $15 or $20 more than this version, and I love the shoe so far. It's done a great job, and I just want to kind of do a test for those of you who would possibly use this in an ultra like I would. I know in ultras I cross streams all the time, and I don't necessarily buy a Gore-Tex shoe to do that. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of Gore-Tex, but in shoes that is. But I wanted to see how this shoe would fare in that. It's got a really light, airy upper, so I thought it would probably do pretty well. And so a couple things I want to get out of the test is really, how does the shoe fare with kind of expelling the water from the shoe? Does it get any hot spots? Does it feel squishy? All this cushion underneath, does it absorb all the water? Am I running on a sponge after that? And does it quickly dry out? Does it have enough airflow to dry your foot out so you're not spending the next 4 or 5 hours with your feet being completely soaked? So that's kind of the purpose of this test. I know some people might get mad and be like, well, it's not Gore-Tex, it's not meant to do that. Well, the Gore-Tex is going to have the same issue if you completely submerge your foot. And I've been in ultras where my feet are completely submerged for longer periods of time. It's not just puddles where you get a little bit of splash on it and it's like, it keeps your foot dry. It's either all or nothing for me. I've never had an ultra where I just kind of got some nice little mud puddle splashes that the shoe is keeping from getting to my foot. It's either I'm completely submerged or I'm not. So the purpose of this test is to kind of see how that turns out. This is the Hoka Speedgoat 4 wet foot test. Here we go. We've done some running in the Speedgoat 4s, the Hoka Speedgoat 4s. This is touted as an ultra shoe. An ultra is you cross streams, so we're going to do the wet foot challenge here. Got about 2 miles left this run after 7.5, so I'm going to wet these feet in the river and head on back to the car and see how they do. One thing they are is very buoyant. Felt like I had my feet floating there for a second. These things are just extremely grippy. Coming up the side of that riverbed, it was locked in, as you saw. Squishy. Water's draining out. All right, so I got about 2 miles left to the car, and we'll see how they do. I'll check back in. All right, so now that you've seen the test, submerging my foot completely in the river, running 2 miles out of the woods to my car, I wanted to kind of see how it would dry out. And so I walked for quite a while after that. And when I got home, took the shoe off, took my socks off. My foot was wet, but pretty much within, 3 to 4 minutes after leaving the river, I could no longer hear the squishing. And if you've gotten your feet completely submerged in shoes, you will know what that squish is. That was actually very surprising to me. I was actually very happy to know that all this foam did not absorb all that water and just sound like I'm running on sponges for the next 20, 25 minutes. It very quickly, now I want to be clear, my foot wasn't dry completely. My sock was wet, I had moisture wicking socks on, and my foot was a little wet, but there was no pooling water in it. It was not, you couldn't squish water out of the outsole or the midsole, and it did really, really well. I am very shocked and surprised and happy to know that if I have to go through multiple river crossings in this shoe, it's going to do a really good job of expelling the water, getting it off my foot, getting it out of the shoe, and it's not going to linger. And I don't have to listen to squishing for, hour or two while the shoe still kind of absorbed all that water. I'm very surprised, and well, I'm not surprised. Hoka makes a great product, but I am happy to know that this version, the Hoka Speedgoat 4, does a good job with that. I know people might think that I don't understand the test. Well, the test really is to see how your foot would fare in this. I mean, if you get your foot wet and the shoe just absorbs all that water and it keeps on your foot the whole time, it could start causing lots of different issues, to include blisters. And I don't want to listen to the squishing sound for a long time. That's a lot of cushion to absorb water, and it didn't do it. So I was extremely happy. Basically, by the, I don't know, let's say quarter mile out of the river, my foot felt exactly the same as it did before I went in the river, which was shocking. And I also really enjoyed the feeling of the buoyancy of the shoe. When I went to go walk in the river, I felt like I had floaties on my feet. I had to actually push them down. Not super bad, but I actually could feel the buoyancy of the shoes, which means a lot of cushion. So this is not the full Hoka Speedgoat 4 review. I did the initial review on the trail. You saw that trail test, and then I just completed the water test to see how they do there. I think that's pretty important to me. And then I'm going to be doing the final kind of 50-mile review, which I'm only 10 miles from. These currently have about 40.5 miles on it. They've done phenomenally so far. I'm really impressed with the shoe. They saved me in my 50K a couple weeks ago. I needed a really soft shoe. After about 20 miles, my feet were really beat up, and because I was running in some shoes that were kind of smashed out and not providing a ton of cushioning after 300 miles on the shoes. But these have done phenomenally. I'm extremely impressed with them. I love running the trails in these, super grippy. But again, I'll save the rest of this review for the full 50-mile review, and I hope you guys enjoyed this test. And if you did, please go ahead and smash that thumbs up and go ahead and click on one of the videos on the side, running related, whether or not it be shoe reviews or just general motivation with running. So there it is, folks. Hoka One Speedgoat 4 wet foot test was a success. All right, I had to go finish my coffee, guys. Talk to you soon.